This is the warscholar.com quick and dirty history of the Chinese Civil War. I hope you're not squeamish because I'm about to massacre a bunch of Chinese words. The Chinese Civil War was fought between nationalists and communists. It started in 1927 and more or less ended in 1950. The war can be broken up into 4 phases. In the early 1920s, the nationalists under Sun Yat-sen wanted to consolidate China into one nation. To do so, they had to defeat various warlords who ruled China, or try to convince these warlords into joining them in one central government. Western powers did not provide aid to this cause, so the nationalists received aid and support from the Soviet Union. The Soviets also supported the small but growing communist movement in China. The political party of the nationalists was referred to as the Kuomintang and was headed by Sun Yat-sen. When Sun Yat-sen died in 1925, his top general Chiang Kai-shek took control of the party. At this time, the communists and nationalists worked together to fight the many warlords in China. The first phase of the Chinese Civil War started with the Northern Expedition. Chang led his forces, an alliance of small warlords and the Kuomintang troops from their base in Guangdong, which is here. In 1927, the Kuomintang took the central plains of China, this area, from Wu Peifu. Soon after, they took Shanghai and the eastern coast from Sun Chuanfang. During this expedition, many Chinese saw the nationalists as progressives who took the side of workers and the poor against oppressive warlords. This allowed the nationalists to gain much political support and enlarge their army. However, during this expedition, the Kuomintang broke into 2 political factions, a left wing and a right wing, with the communists forming a small third political group. The Communist Party of China and the left wing of the Kuomintang moved the government from Guangzhou, here, to Wuhan, here. Chang took the right-wing political faction to Jiangxi, here. He believed the left wing and the Communist Party of China was taking orders from the Soviet Union. Chang ordered a purge of communists and executed and arrested many CPC, Communist Party of China, members in Shanghai, here. In retaliation, the CPC tried to take territory in southeast China from the Kuomintang, but failed. At this point, China had 3 capitals: Beijing, here, Wuhan, here, and Nanjing, here. The left wing of the Kuomintang expelled the Communist Party and then were defeated by Chang's right-wing forces. The 10 years' war between the nationalists and communists had begun. In 1928, the nationalist forces drove the warlord Zhang Zuolin from Beijing, again here. Though in the end, Chang was left in control of a larger and more powerful nationalist army, various warlords arose to take place of the ones that had been defeated. In 1928, the leader of Manchuria, here, agreed to ally himself with the Kuomintang. This powerful alliance angered other regional warlords who were allied with the Kuomintang. A few of the more powerful warlords formed an anti-Chang coalition with the left wing of the Kuomintang and demanded Chang's resignation. In 1930, the Central Plains War began. This war started as an internal Kuomintang conflict and led to an attempt by Chang to crush the remaining parts of the CPC. The Central Plains War lasted from May to November 1930 and resulted, after much bloodshed and fighting, in a Chang victory. However, Manchuria was severely weakened by the fighting. The Encirclement Campaigns. Following the Central Plains War, the Communist Party set up the Chinese Soviet Republic in November 1931. This was a new country within China, and this began the period known as the Two Chinas. Chang began a series of encirclement campaigns against this new Soviet Republic and the rest of the communist forces in China. The idea was to encircle these communist territories and crush them militarily. The first and second campaigns lasted from 1930 to 1931 and failed. The third campaign began in 1931 but was aborted because of an event known as the Mukden Incident. The Japanese owned railways running through Manchuria. Here. Sensing weakness in the Chinese government and wanting to protect Japanese interests in China and control this territory, Japanese officers blew up a small section of the Japanese railroad in Manchuria and blamed Chinese forces. Under this pretext, Japan invaded Manchuria. For various reasons, Chinese resistance to this attack was weak, and in 1932, Japan set up a puppet government in Manchuria and renamed the territory Manchukuo. Chang's fourth encirclement campaign lasted from 1932 to 1933, and while he had some success, he still did not defeat the Chinese Soviet Republic. The red portions of the map indicate the location of the Chinese Soviets. Chang's fifth campaign took on a new strategy against the communists. Whereas before he attacked into the heart of communist territory, in this campaign he circled enemy territory with blockhouses and cut off their supplies and food. He hoped to patiently starve his enemies into submission. This strategy worked, and in October 1934, the communist spy ring in the Kuomintang learned that Chang was planning a final crushing blow. The communists ordered a general retreat out of Jiangxi, this Soviet. The communist forces were divided, but they generally headed west and then north. The march took 2 years, and the communist forces suffered through it all. They withstood powerful attacks from the Kuomintang and local warlords. They passed through harsh terrain and endured attacks from Aboriginal and other ethnic groups who were antagonistic to ethnic Chinese. Along the way, the communists commandeered supplies and weapons from villages and towns they passed through. During this period, Mao Zedong's power and influence increased as he successfully maneuvered his forces through these obstacles. By 1936, the communist forces reunited in Jiangxi. Here. At this point, communist forces and party membership was down to about 10% of what it was before the march began.